Hello everybody, welcome or welcome back to a new video. So today I thought I would do a January reading wrap up and also what is on my TBR for February. Normally I would do these as like separate videos, but every single book that I read in January was all part of the same series and I just feel like that might be quite boring, so I thought that I would sort of combine them anyways. January was a good reading month for me, like so good, but not in terms of the books that I actually read, like the amount that I read. So I only read 5 books in total, but they were all huge, like huge books, and every single one was over 4 stars because I finished the Throne of Glass series. So in January I read all of these, which concluded my Throne of Glass journey. So yes, I only read 5 books, but can we please take a minute to appreciate the 5 books that I read, like the size of them? That's insane. I'm actually gonna try and figure out how many pages that is, because I honestly think that might be like the most pages I've ever read in a month, ever. But let's dive into it, let's discuss, because I have so much to say. So I started my Throne of Glass journey in November, which is insane to say because it feels like it has not been that long, but at the same time it's like I read the first 3 between November and December, and then I've read the last 5 all in January. It's going to be quite hard for me to talk about each individual book without spoiling things, so I'm going to try and keep it like as brief as possible so that I don't spoil it. But basically, if you don't know, the Throne of Glass series essentially follows, or it starts out by following Celaena Sardothien. She is the best assassin, the most notorious assassin, and she basically gets plucked from a like slavery camp to go and compete in a game, a tournament, a competition to become the king's champion. That is where it all starts. Obviously, we have been on a roller coaster ride since then. That feels like a lifetime ago. So I can't really talk about like in depth the plot of each book because again, I don't want to spoil it, but like that's how we start off. All I have to say is I love this series so much. Like I kind of went into it thinking, am I gonna love it as much as ACOTAR? Am I gonna feel as connected to the story, to the characters? And if anything, I think I feel even more connected, like personally, to the characters, and I just love it. Like the plot and everything, I'm obsessed. I will say, and I did say this in a few, like when I've spoke about it before in wrap-ups or like vlogs or anything like that, I feel like I wasn't as hooked right off the bat as I was with ACOTAR, but like these specific books that I read this month, like these ones just solidified how much I love this series and how much I love these characters and this world, and I'll be thinking about it forever. So the reading order that I did, I read Heir of Fire 4th because I did Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, then The Assassin's Blade 3rd, and then went on to Heir of Fire. So Heir of Fire, we kind of pick back up with the drama, the sort of like intensity of the plot. Still obviously following Celaena, but we get like a lot more characters introduced in this book, and we get a lot more of the world building and learning about those characters and learning about the plot and learning about the politics. I love politics in a fantasy book. Like I feel like sometimes that's a little bit, people find it a bit tedious, people don't like it as much, but for me personally, like I think it really adds a lot to the plot, and I love politics in a fantasy book. Obviously in this one we sort of get the beginnings of like a romance. I will say there is nowhere near as much romance in Throne of Glass as there is in ACOTAR. This is definitely fantasy with romance subplot, whereas ACOTAR feels more like romantasy, but I do not care. Like I love the bits of romance that we get, but for me, I literally was not bothered in the slightest that there was not a lot. I'm really struggling to sort of describe these books without spoiling things, but I loved this one. I loved the new characters that we got introduced to. I loved the progression of the characters that we already knew. I loved Manon so much. Like Manon is my girl. She's my gal. I'm obsessed with her. I love her so much. This was a 5-star read for me. Then we went on to another 5-star, which was Queen of Shadows. So to avoid spoiling things, in this one we see Aelin, and again we sort of see the progression of the plot, of the politics, of the sort of upcoming conflict, just the way that The characters in this book interact with each other, the way you become so involved in like the found family and the plot and the romance and like the sort of budding tension. I was obsessed. 5 stars, loved it. Then I went on to Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms. The reason that I say these two together is because I did do the tandem read. I didn't know going into it if I was going to do the tandem, just because they are chunky books and I feel like a lot of people that I'd seen do the tandem, I don't know, I'd just seen like conflicting opinions. Some people loved doing the tandem, some people didn't and said they sort of made the reading feel like work, which I obviously didn't want because I was enjoying the series so much. But I just felt like a lot of people that I'd seen do the tandem enjoyed that more than people that had read them individually. So basically, to explain it a little bit, both of these books kind of take place at the same time, they just follow different characters. So in Empire of Storms, we follow Aelin, we follow Dorian, we follow Manon through various sort of like events and times and discovering things. But then Tower of Dawn, we follow Kael and Nesrin. So both of these are taking place after Queen of Shadows, like sort of within the same timeline, but we are following different characters and their stories and their character development, their plots, I guess. So you can read them separately, which you start with Empire of Storms and then go on to Tower of Dawn. But basically people have put together, thank God for them by the way, a tandem read where basically you read maybe like a few chapters of this, then go on to this, then back and forth, so that each one sort of, you're not having to go over similar events and figure out things in separate ways, if that makes sense. And I did really enjoy doing the tandem read. I actually read it on my Kindle. There is like a file that has all of it put together already for you, just because I thought I take these to work, like I take them if I'm going to my boyfriend's house. Like me having to take both of these books with me everywhere I go and then also figure out how many chapters I need to read, because there's like a whole document. I will pop it on here. Like having to do that whilst I'm at work, whilst I'm reading in the car, if I'm reading whilst I'm out, like that just seemed like a lot of effort. So I did read it on my Kindle and I thought that was so much easier. I really enjoyed doing it that way. I do kind of wish that like I could have annotated these though, but it is what it is. Maybe we'll do a reread at some point. But I think I enjoyed the tandem maybe more than I would have if I read them separately, just because for me, I much preferred Empire of Storms, just because that follows the characters that I felt more attached to. Like we see Aelin and Manon, who, like I said, they're my girls. I love them so much. I feel so seen in both of them. I love like a loyal but kind of cold-hearted female character. So that one was my favourite of the two, and I also feel like the plot in that one was like a little bit more intense and had the majority of like the drama and the plot that sort of sets up the rest of the world building and the plot across the whole series, I guess. Then Tower of Dawn does follow Kael and Nesrin, so that one was like a little bit slower and I didn't feel as invested in this book, but sort of reading them alongside each other I did really like, because it would be like you'd get so much drama in Empire of Storms and then it'd switch to a few chapters of Tower of Dawn, and it was almost like building the anticipation even more because I wanted to get through. I was still enjoying those chapters, but I was almost like racing to get to the next book, and I feel like it was the same. Something could happen in Empire of Storms and then it would go to Tower of Dawn, or something would happen in Tower of Dawn and then you'd have to go to Empire of Storms. So I feel like it made me even more excited to read because I wasn't reading it continuously, if that makes any sense. But I rated Empire of Storms a 4.5. I don't quite know why I didn't rate this one a 5 stars actually. I just feel like maybe it felt very long, and doing it in the tandem I feel like it maybe lost a tiny little bit of momentum, but I still really enjoyed this as a book overall, and this was what made me feel like so seen and so attached to the characters in this book in specific. And then Tower of Dawn I gave a 4 stars, just because like I said I did feel like it was a little bit slower than Empire of Storms, but I still really enjoyed it. Like I love Kael. I feel like this book gets a little bit of a bad rep. I feel like people hate on this book a little bit, but I still really enjoyed it and I loved reading about these characters too. Then we have the big boy, we have Kingdom of Ash. I don't even know where to start with this book, apart from this was perfect, this was everything to me. I have not stopped thinking about this book since I finished it. I just loved it. This was like the perfect conclusion for me. everything I could have wanted and more. Like, there was intensity, there was plot, I was sobbing. Again, I don't really want to say too much because it is literally the last book in an 8-book series, but I just love this. I was obsessed with it and I literally want to do a reread already. If I even I've been watching TikToks and I've been listening to TikTok sounds, and I'm just like, the goosebumps that I get when I see an edit or if I hear like a soundbite from this book, insane. This was obviously a 5 stars. I loved it and it was worth every single page, all 999 or however much it is. Obsessed. I just loved the characters so much. Like, there's just something about the way that those characters were written and the way that they all interacted with each other. Like, I love a found family. Like I said, I love like a strong female main character where they can come across as quite cold and maybe like not even bitchy, but like if you were to say like a cold-hearted bitch like Nesta, but they are so loyal, they are like literally ride or die for their family, their friends, their found family, whatever, and have so much like complexity. I don't even know how to explain it, but like Aelin and Manon, I felt like so seen and I felt so like, I just love them so much, and I'll be thinking about this series forever. So that was my January wrap up. Obviously not as many books as normal, but they were some chunky books, so please give me credit where credit is due. Loved them, such a good reading month, and I cannot believe that I have now completed the Throne of Glass series. Like, what? Crescent City is coming up next. Okay, so going on to a few of the books that I want to read in February. I actually don't have a set TBR. I am very much mood reading. I feel like I have obviously read a lot of fantasy in the last few months, and February is love month, so I think I want to go back to my rom-com roots and fit a few of them in whilst also ticking some off the physical TBR. So for my romance reads, I really want to read Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is book number 3 in the Maple Hill series. I got this one for Christmas and I just feel like I need to read it. Like, I really want an easy to pick up, easy to get into romance. I feel like I already kind of know these characters because it is the 3rd book in a series, and I've heard like mixed things on this one, but I am hoping that I will love it. This follows Henry and Hallie. I think she starts tutoring him maybe. I don't know. I just feel like the vibes will be there. It'll be like a cutesy, easy to read sort of book. And then my other romance that I have is The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. So again, I got quite a lot of Abby Jimenez books for Christmas, and I just want to sort of start getting into the more like summery reads, springtime reads, which for me always feels like a romance. I have absolutely no idea what this is about. So we have Kristen and Josh who meet through like a wedding, and she basically friend zones him. Again, feels like a very sort of easy to read, cutesy rom-com vibe. I love Abby Jimenez and her writing style. Every single one of her books has been a 5-star for me. I don't think these older sort of books are meant to be as good as her new books, but I still do want to read a few of them and see if I'm enjoying them. Then switching it up a little bit, I have The Last Word by Taylor Adams. So this is a thriller. It's basically about this girl who goes to like a sort of cabin type thing, I think, and she leaves a 1-star review of a book that she's read and then starts getting weird messages and threats from the author. I want to get into the sort of horror and thriller genre a little bit more. I feel like I keep saying it, but I really want a book that is actually going to scare me. And I feel like this one has quite good reviews in that it's really gripping and quite, not like terrifying, but like it's quite creepy. And I feel like that is just really what I'm in the mood for recently. I don't know why. Thrillers for me are always so easy to read. I always get through them quite quickly. So I'm excited to get into that one. Another romance one that I've just thought that is actually on my Kindle. I really want to read Lights Out. I've just been seeing this everywhere. It is, as far as I'm aware, a masked man, like a ghost face cosplayer or something along those lines. That's all I had to hear, honestly, for me to add it to my Kindle library. I've been staring at that one for a while, but I've obviously been in the middle of Throne of Glass and I just kind of wanted to prioritise that. But best believe that might actually be my next read, because I can't keep staring at it for any longer. Like, I need to know what that book is about and I know I'm going to be obsessed. No shame. But then I have Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. I actually was looking for The Nightingale and I was getting so stressed because I couldn't find it, and then I remembered I gave it to my nana for her to read. So if I get that one back soon, then I will start that, but if not, then I'm going to start with Firefly Lane. I just really need to get through a few Kristen Hannah books. I have quite a lot of her books now, but I've not read any of them yet, so I feel like I do need to make a start on her books. I've heard such good things about like her writing style, the things that she talks about, the topics and everything like that. Her book's meant to be so emotional and so good. I also really want to watch the TV show of this, so once I finish this book, then we will watch the TV show. I just know that this is about friendship, like sort of female platonic friendships, relationships, and girlhood growing into a woman, from what I've gathered. So I love all of that. I'm really excited to get into this one. So either it will be this or The Nightingale, depending on which one I get. Like I said, I'm very much trying to mood read because I want to get through my physical TBR. There's a lot on it at the minute. So I'm like shopping my physical TBR, seeing what I'm feeling, but as of right now, these are the books I really want to read. And then I have Tuesdays with Maury. So this one is basically, I don't know what this would be like categorized as, but it's basically someone meets up with Maury, who's a college professor, and this book is basically all of the lessons and all of the sort of like teachings that he learned with him or from him. I picked this up when I went to London with Sophie and Marty and Jenna and Siri, and they all wrote in it for me. I literally cannot even look at that without crying. But this is one of Sophie's favourite books, so we all bought it, and she basically said to sort of read like a chapter or a little quote, a little passage each sort of day, and that is one of her like favourite or most recommended ways to read this book. So I do feel like I need to get to this one, and I feel like at the minute I'm just kind of like very much in a appreciating life kind of mood, which sounds so weird, but I just feel like this is one of those books that helps that and really puts things into perspective. Apparently it is sad though, which I'm not really prepared for, not really looking forward to, but we will make it work. I also think I might do a video reading like my best friend's book recommendations, so this one will make its way into there too if I do end up doing that. They are the books that I've sort of planned to read in February, but like I said, I am trying to mood read and sort of like just read more of what I want to read, which I do anyways, but you know what I mean. So they may change, may add a few more to it. Hopefully I will read a few more books in February. Very excited for some new reads, and hopefully they'll be good too. But that is everything from me. I do hope you enjoyed. Let me know what is on your February TBR, what sort of books you think I should read. As always, follow my Goodreads and my Instagram if you do want to stay more up to date on what I'm currently reading, in-depth reviews, everything like that. I am much more active over there. But thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.